I'm not feeling so good, obviously. Years of not getting medical care and being poisoned by another person. Years of seizures, cold, being brought back to life by emergency rooms, getting malpracticed, getting hurt by other people. Just the list goes on and on. Anyways, I'm gonna do my best to do the poisoned apple analogy. Once again, it helps people understand right from wrong, and even though you have done nothing wrong, you could be murdering another person. I'm going to do this one in a way that might be easier to understand than my last one. So, we got a wife and a husband. We're going to label them wife and husband. Okay? A wife and a husband that live in a nice house. Okay? This wife and husband are going to go to the grocery store. The wife tells her husband that he's packing a very certain medication / poison with her, like pure liquid 99% benzocaine or Thorazine or antifreeze or something very poisonous that could take a long time. It might be hard to diagnose, but the husband doesn't care, doesn't know anything about it. He goes, oh yeah, bring your medication with you. I don't know what you're doing. The wife and the husband go to the grocery store. While they're in the fruit aisle, the wife injects an apple with poison. Yes, the wife puts poison in the apple, which the husband knows exactly the name of that poison. The husband knows that this poison is being put in this apple. This wife and husband then leave the grocery store. Now, the wife has a mental illness where she's trying to cause harm. The husband doesn't know quite what happened. He knows that what the name of the medication is, but he's not going to think about it. The wife and the husband go home. They're in their home, in their house. A father and his kid decide to go to the grocery store. He wants to buy an apple for his kid because it's healthy, so he buys an apple from this grocery store and goes home. He goes home to his apartment with his 10-year-old child, cuts the apple in half, gives half of it to his kid, and he eats half of it himself. 3 months down the line, that kid gets sick. They go looking from doctor to doctor, but no doctor knows what it is. They've checked their diets. They seem healthy. They eat apples and chicken, and they have a healthy diet. They have no history of any illnesses in their family. They've tested their blood. They've tested everything they can come up with, but the doctors are still seeing their patient die. The kid dies first, then the husband, and then the father. Now, the wife and the husband. Now, the wife put the poison in the apple. How did she kill these people? Well, she killed them in 2 ways. One, she put the poison in the apple. But 2, every single day, that husband and wife woke up and made a choice to keep their mouths shut and not confess about what they knew. So by keeping their mouths shut and by not going to the authorities or the grocery store and saying, my wife put poison in the apple, or by the wife not going to the grocery store and saying, I gotta confess, I put poison in the apple. Because those 2 people woke up every day and decided to keep that secret, all those doctors couldn't help the patient. But let's say the wife killed herself. Let's say the wife put the poison in the apple, got home with the husband, and then killed herself. Now there's only the husband who saw the poison they put in the apple and knows that she had a certain thing on her. Now, he doesn't think much of it. My wife is gone, so we're just going to leave that all to other people to deal with. Well, he's now committing murder because he can go at any time to the grocery store. The husband can go to the grocery store and say, I saw my wife put something on an apple. It seemed weird to me that my wife was fiddling with an apple. And then later I remembered that she brought some weird poison with her. You might want to check who bought those apples and make sure they're okay. And then they would do an investigation, check the camera, see her put a syringe in the apple. And then they called the person that got the apple and say, are you guys okay? And they say, no, we're in the emergency room. My son's close to death. I'm not feeling too good. Well, we just did some research, and apparently a dead woman put poison in the apple that you bought. We're going to have to give you some information to your doctor and have them work on it. Then the doctor knows what the poison is. He can help the kid. The kid survives. He's only disabled for the rest of his life, but he gets to survive and live a halfway normal life. The father fully recovers, all because the husband just told the truth. Just said, hey, I saw my wife doing something weird to that apple, and I know she had some drugs on her. I know she had some dangerous poisons on her. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but I know she was fiddling with that apple, and I know that she took poison with her. And she's dead now. She killed herself, and she hung herself, which seems suspicious. She seemed very guilty. She was drinking a lot, then she killed herself. So, we really would like to admit to your grocery store that you should look into this. Then the grocery store checks the cameras, looks into it, and says, oh, there's too much here. Oh, we better notify somebody. Then they notify somebody, and the doctor gets wind of what chemical they're talking about, so the doctor tests for that and then comes up with a cure. So, that husband can save everybody by just coming honest and saying that there might be a problem here and just giving some of the facts. So, that is my analogy. Now, if you don't come clean and you keep things to yourself, people can get hurt if there's something like this going on. Keep that in mind. There's different choices you can go here. You know, if your wife is no longer here, then there's no reason for you to harm another human being. But if your wife was there, you still need to do the right thing. You don't want other people getting hurt. And I use this poisoned apple example because there actually are people poisoning children. And I know this for a fact because I was one of them. But there's also parents beating their children until their eyeballs are no good to get Social Security because they come from Cambodia. There's orphans who are in foster care who are literally being given way too many drugs and then don't know how to handle being drugged all the time against their will. You got people giving double doses of medication to these orphans. We got orphans being raped and then nothing being done about it. Yes. Not only during childhood did things like that happen to me in Lowell Treatment Center, as an adult, on camera, they allowed a guy 8 doors down to come into my room every night and try to rape me with his finger. Yes, he used to get in my bed and try to stick his hand down my pants and stick his finger up my bum, and I would have to strangle him out of the room, get the staff member, the night staff, and tell them to do their job. Which not only about an hour later, as I'm dozing off, this kid's right back in my room. Dealt with this once after another after another. He must have been on his 10th trip of me throwing his ass out by the 3rd day. The day staff finally, I had enough, and they looked into it and found out that yes, they were allowing me to potentially be raped repeatedly on camera after I already made multiple complaints to stop allowing this kid to rape me. So I was 19 and able to throw this kid out of my room. But they're allowing much worse than this. This kid was a skinny, weak guy. But how about if that guy was 300 pounds coming in my room and actually trying to stick his dick in my bum? I would be done. The staff member don't care. They see me throwing this kid to the floor by his neck, telling him to get the fuck back to his room and stop trying to stick your goddamn finger in my fucking bum. See, this was a light, small kid, so I was able to do that. But if this was some prisoner like we sometimes got in those places and I wasn't 19, I would have been done thanks to them. During childhood, they're allowing me to be double dosed by the staff, the same medication. Yes, in the same hour, I was given Thorazine, Xanax, Ritalin, drugs like that, twice in the same hour. Nothing because my roommate is bored and wants to have some kicks. So my roommate went out in the hallway and decided to spin some stories that would get them to hold me down and drug me. I don't know what stories my roommate spun, but it worked, and the staff held me down and gave me a double dose. And I did not cheek any medicine. I took all my meds, and that's the problem here. I took all my medication in front of them that, for one, I did not need. They were forcing upon me if I liked it or not. This is Thorazine, Seroquel, Trazodone. I'm only a child of 12 years old, so I don't get a choice. My mother chooses. They're strip searching me naked, stuff like that. And why are they doing all this? What did I do? Did I burn a house? Did I blow up a building? Did I hit somebody with a hammer like all my roommates? No. I took a match to some slug slime at 12 years old. I was curious if I could make a fireproof extinguisher, so I took a match and I lit it and held it through some slug slime, seeing if it was fireproof as an experiment. And then I went inside and I told my father the experiment and told him how I was trying to do it safe and I really would like him to do it with me. And then my mother spun a fantasy and got me injected with drugs. They doubled up the drugs. They ended up having me double dosed in the same fucking day, actually in the same hour. Literally, they gave me my medicine back to my room. And less than 30 minutes later, my roommate's spinning a story. And then about 15 minutes later, I'm being held down, injected with a second dose of the same meds I just took. And this is what we're doing to orphan children and our children at nowadays. And I think it's wrong. I'm not the only one. You can ask just anybody who spent large times in Low Treatment Center as a child. I bet they had a lot of experiences. Not only that, talk to some people in St. Anne's that have been in there. If you talk to the children that seem most broken and you're able to get them to come clean and talk about it while crying or something like that, you'll be horrified at what goes on nowadays. And then again, remember, in the 70s, we were shoving ice picks in these children's brains. Yes. Um, Rich people brought their children to one of these doctors that said he was a psychiatrist, and he was well known for the ice pick treatment where he uses no gloves, no anesthesia, takes an ice pick, puts it up your nose, takes a hammer, and smashes it into your brain, wiggles it around, rips it out, and then says you're cured. That was 1970s treatment for people like me with mothers and fathers like me. I light a match to slug slime and they shove a ice pick in my brain. It was happening back then. Just today, instead, they have you go naked. They give you cavity searches. They give you double doses of Thorazine. They give you like shock treatments, shit like that. That's today. I think they just did away with the shock treatments by the early 2000s, though, in the 90s. So I know a couple people who had to go through what I went through who got shock treatments, and I'm not sure, but when I was really young, like at the age of 7, my mother was getting stuff like that done. And that was in 1998, 1999. My mother was still trying to fuck me up with medications and shit right after an overdose, too. Yeah, my mother wasn't concerned about the overdose. No, she was concerned about getting me on as much medication right as possible. Meanwhile, I literally just met her. Yes, I just met my mother. I'm just getting to know her, and she's loading me up with drugs, giving me pills before my adoption, making me drool during parties. Yeah, just terrible shit.